A 56-year-old man is accused of assaulting and attempting to kidnap an 8-year-old girl after breaking into a home in the middle of the night. At around 2:30 a.m. on Tuesday the 15th of October, authorities responded to a home in the 300 block of Walnut Street in Sterling, Colorado for a reported home invasion and kidnapping attempt. Officers learnt that between 1 and 2 a.m, the suspect broke into the home through the back door, entered the girl's bedroom, blindfolded her, and she began fighting off her attacker. At some point during the assault, the suspect grabbed the girl from a bed, knocked her unconscious, then fled. When the girl came to, she ran to her mother's room to tell her what happened, who then called law enforcement. The girl suffered a cut to the back of her head requiring staples and a bruise to her right eye. Authorities said that the suspect was wearing a cloth clown mask during the assault. The mask was left in the child's room along with a pair of gloves. Police said the attacker also took the victim's phone. Location data from the phone as well as security footage helped to track down and identify the suspect as 56-year-old Thomas Gallegos. The victim's mother told police that Thomas is a family's neighbour and helped them install a washer and dryer in the home 2 days before the attack. On the morning of Saturday the 19th of October, officers took Thomas into custody. Thomas told police that he was in Denver at the time of the break-in and denied hurting the child. When investigators said to Thomas they wanted the truth, Thomas said he was done talking. Following his refusal to talk, police served a court order for a DNA sample on Thomas's cell phone. Thomas's wife told police her husband denied any allegations. She confirmed her husband's identity as the man in the security footage near the victim's home. Additionally, his wife said the clown mask the man carried in the video belonged to their grandson. Thomas was charged with burglary, attempted kidnapping, assault and child abuse. He remains held at the Logan County Jail without bond. An 18-year-old woman has been arrested for attacking her grandmother in Glenville, West Virginia. Geneva Isabell Losh is accused of assaulting the elderly woman on the 29th of September at her home while she was staying with her. The woman told police that Geneva became angry with her because she said she was not ready for bed. When she refused, Geneva pushed the kitchen table into her chest, threw the table against the wall and grabbed the woman by the throat. Geneva then tried to grab a knife, but the woman blocked her from doing so she grabbed a fork and said she was going to stab her with it. She put the fork down and began looking for scissors before saying she was going to do the job one way or the other. Geneva threw shoes at her grandmother, hit her in the face and bit her on the left hand as well. Police found bruising on the woman. On the 20th of October, Geneva was arrested and charged with abuse or neglect of an incapacitated adult, strangulation, domestic battery and domestic assault. She remains held at the Central Regional Jail on a $16,000 bond. 50-year-old Michael Sullivan is accused of shooting and injuring an innocent bystander at a bar. At 11:58 p.m. on Sunday the 20th of October, authorities responded to Haley's Bar at 278 Dauphin Street in Mobile, Alabama on reports of shots fired. When officers arrived at the scene, they found a 26-year-old man in a critical condition with a gunshot wound to his abdomen. He was rushed to a local hospital for treatment. Authorities said that a heated domestic dispute took place between Michael and a woman, which turned physical. Michael then decided to pull out a gun and shoot, missing his intended target, and instead shot a man who was standing near the back of the bar with his friends. Investigators said that Michael did not know the victim he shot. Michael suffered injuries to his face during a struggle with bar patrons and security as they held him down before police arrived. Michael was arrested and booked into the Mobile County Jail on a charge of first-degree assault. On Wednesday the 23rd of October, Michael appeared in court for his arraignment where he pleaded not guilty to the charge. A judge set his bond at $25,000. A public servant is accused of sexually assaulting a juvenile family member over several years. On Thursday the 17th of October, 48-year-old Brian Dodoro was arraigned in the 52nd District Court in Troy, Michigan. He is charged with 4 counts of first-degree criminal sexual conduct with a victim under 13, 4 counts of first-degree criminal sexual conduct with a victim who has a relationship with the defendant, and 1 count of first-degree criminal sexual conduct with intent to commit sexual penetration. Brian was released on a $250,000 bail and is required to wear an ankle monitor and have no contact with the victim of his alleged crimes. Brian is an employee of the City Public Works Department and serves as an auxiliary volunteer firefighter. He's since been placed on leave. 33-year-old Emmanuel Thomas Dennis is behind bars for fatally beating his fiance's 2-year-old daughter. At around midday on Monday the 21st of October, authorities responded to the Village of Sea Rights Apartments complex in Uniontown, Pennsylvania, for a child having a medical emergency call. When first responders arrived, they found an unresponsive toddler laying face down with dried vomit around her mouth, with multiple scratches and bruises covering her entire body. The girl was transported to Uniontown Hospital, where she was pronounced dead. The victim was identified as 2-year-old Margaret Dunn. Officers were told that the child hadn't been checked on since 7 a.m. However, it was determined that the child had been dead for more than 12 hours before the family made the emergency call. Authorities identified Emmanuel as a suspect in the girl's death. He's engaged to the victim's mother, Celia Dunn, who's 34 weeks pregnant, and they all live together. Emmanuel's accused of abusing the child several times over the last few weeks and kicking her across the floor of the upstairs hallway to the child's bedroom before she died. During an interview with detectives, Emmanuel complained about the terrible twos and admitted to beating the toddler. He said that over the course of the weekend, she fell and hit her head 6 times. Investigators also noted that Emmanuel did not call the girl by her name, repeatedly referring to her as it. Emmanuel admitted to causing extensive bruising on the victim's body, but said he didn't want to take her to hospital because he was afraid of a Children and Youth Services investigation. Police said that when they interviewed Celia, she said that Margaret had a head injury and had been acting tired and lethargic. She said that Emmanuel had been abusing her for several weeks and she had to have talks with him about it. Celia also said that twice over the last 4 days, Emmanuel had become upset with the girl. She said that Emmanuel lifted Margaret by the arm and carried her to her bedroom, and then hit her multiple times until she became unresponsive. When Margaret's health began to rapidly decline, police said that Celia wanted to take her to the hospital, but Emmanuel said he didn't want to because of her bruises. Emmanuel was arrested and charged with criminal homicide, aggravated assault and endangering the welfare of children. He remains held at the Fayette County Jail without bond. Authorities said that charges are pending against Celia for turning a blind eye to the abuse, while the other 2 children aged 7 and 4 in the house have been turned over to foster care. The investigation into the matter continues. A 40-year-old man wanted for violating probation on an attempted homicide charge in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, was apprehended in the Florida Keys after leading deputies on a pursuit and fleeing on foot. At around 7:30 p.m. on Monday the 21st of October, a witness reported a fight between a man and a woman in a marathon parking lot. The woman was heard asking for help before the pair left in a BMW heading south along US Highway 1. Monroe County Sheriff deputies located the vehicle and attempted a traffic stop, but the driver, later identified as Douglas Grant Grill, sped off. The pursuit ended near mile marker 32 in Big Pine Key, where Douglas abandoned the vehicle and his female passenger and fled on foot. Deputies quickly caught and arrested Douglas, who initially gave a false name and resisted arrest. He was booked into the Monroe County Jail and now faces charges of fleeing and eluding, resisting arrest and providing a false name to law enforcement. A 66-year-old man is behind bars for fatally shooting his 76-year-old girlfriend. At around 11 p.m. on Tuesday the 22nd of October, authorities responded to a residence in the 4200 block of River Run Drive in Sanford, North Carolina on reports of shots fired. When deputies arrived, they found 76-year-old Joan Collins deceased with a gunshot wound. 66-year-old Randall Lee Stark was identified as a suspect in the shooting and was immediately detained at the scene. Authorities said that Joan and Randall were in a long-term relationship and lived together. Randall's charged with murder and is being held in the Lee County Jail without bond. The motive of the killing is unclear, as the investigation into the matter continues. A man is behind bars for fatally shooting his wife. At around 5:30 p.m. on Monday the 14th of October, authorities responded to a home in the 1200 block of Stover Road in Standish, Michigan. Dispatch had received a 911 call from 38-year-old Jacob Fisher, who advised that he had shot his wife, 29-year-old Dainara Fisher, inside their home. Jacob then dragged his wife's body to the couple's driveway and dumped her in a trash can. When deputies arrived at the property, they located Jacob in the driveway of his home and he was taken into custody. Authorities later located Dainara's body with a gunshot wound to the head, mixed in with the garbage. 5 children were said to be inside the house when the murder transpired. Following the removal of the traumatized children from the property, authorities located the murder weapon inside the home. Jacob remains held at the Aroostook County Jail on homicide charges with no bond. The motive of the killing is unclear, as the investigation into the matter continues. 48-year-old Richard Martinez has been arrested after his roommate's corpse was found buried in his backyard. At 7:45 p.m. on Tuesday, the 15th of October, authorities responded to a home in the 8700 block of Sullivan Drive in Riverside, California to complete a welfare check on a resident who had not been seen or heard from for several days. When officers arrived at the premises, Richard claimed that he killed his roommate. Richard was detained while police executed a search warrant of the property. Cadaver dogs alerted detectives to freshly disturbed soil in the backyard. They began digging in the area and discovered human remains. The victim was identified as 31-year-old Bradley Minder. Detectives said a preliminary investigation revealed that Richard and Bradley were involved in an altercation before Richard killed Bradley and buried him in the backyard. Authorities have not disclosed how Bradley was killed. Richard was arrested and charged with first-degree murder and remains held at the Robert Presley Detention Center without bail. The investigation into the matter continues. The city manager of Waurika, Oklahoma has been arrested on child sexual abuse charges. On the 8th of January this year, the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office requested the Oklahoma Bureau of Investigation to investigate a possible sex crime in Waurika. 30-year-old Charles Kyote Dunn is a city manager for the city of Waurika, and a reserve police officer for the Waurika Police Department was identified as a suspect. A few days later, on the 11th of January, authorities interviewed him. That interview was conducted after an individual allegedly found 2 recording devices located in the bedroom and bathroom of Charles's home. Authorities executed a search warrant at his residence, where they seized his electronic devices. During the comprehensive investigation, around 1,970 images of 5 different individuals were found on the devices, several which contained sexual abuse material. On the afternoon of Thursday, the 17th of October, Charles was arrested in Duncan, Oklahoma. He was booked into the Stevens County Jail on charges of possession and manufacture of child sexual abuse material and loitering around residents to watch occupants.